Brothers and sisters.
Is that you, Daniel? Are you before me?
Call that radio.
You call that radio.
Hello, yes, this is Dog.
This is You Call That Radio TV, the election special. Do you like that? Aye. No expense spared. Welcome to You Call That Radio TV. We've got the election special. We've invited this guy, not that guy. No him, but him. Count Binface. Hopefully we'll be hearing from him later on. I've asked him on Twitter. There's no guarantees he will turn up. We've asked a lot of people on the show tonight. We are probably going to have more than 10 different people. I'm going to get our co-host Jim Monaghan. If you're just joining us, this You Call That Radio TV. Every Thursday, for the last 5 Thursdays in a row, it's been You Call That Politics. This is the grand finale. Will it be as popular as the Line of Duty? Jim Monaghan, what do you think?
I think it'll probably be as popular as Line of Duty. I mean, it might be a bit of wishful thinking, but it's a really exciting, edge of your seat stuff as we wonder whether one party might get one more seat than next time or not. But I actually wanted the night when all these guests are going to be coming back and forward. We're going to have loads of guests. I want to ask our viewers, You Call That Radio viewers, to just, it's an open one. Last few weeks we've had various discussions on specific subjects. This week it's all...
Let's talk about it. Let's go through this quickly.
Well, we started talking about drugs. We had some people involved in drugs rehabilitation and other things on the first week. On the second week we talked about education. On the third week we talked about representation in politics. And on last week we talked about democracy, just what is it as a better models to have for democracy, and we talked about that. But I want to hear actually for viewers what the election's been like for you. Are you going to be voting who you're voting for, or who you're not voting for? If you're not voting, why? All that kind of thing. Let us know what you think has been the best bit of the election. Has Willie Rennie moved you? Has Alex Salmon touched you? Or anything like that? Just get in touch with us and let...
Allegedly. We've got the...
I meant in an emotional sense.
We've got... You've given the description of this as... Join Jim Monaghan for the last remaining hours of voting on election night. A rolling panel of experts, candidates, mavericks, and idiots.
Yeah, we've got some idiots as well.
We've got some idiots in the house. Is that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
We've got Alan Rorison's in the house. Hello, Mark. Hello, Jim. Hello, Alan. We've got Lou in the house. Soapy saying happy Thursday. We staying online till Saturday to see the results. Well, that's true. I think that's right, innit? We're just going to keep going.
Yeah, we'll just stay here and talk shite. I mean, there's plenty to talk about or not. We'll find out.
Craig Hendry's in the house. Hello, Craig. And we've got some amazing guests on the show tonight, including, the rumour has it, a very famous... I don't want to give too much away, but someone who's had their number one hit single is going to be on the show tonight. Is that true?
Yeah, we've got a guest coming in. He's coming in for a very special reason around half. Hopefully.
React. If you watch this on YouTube, and Facebook, give us a wow react. If you're watching it on YouTube, give us a fire emoji. And if you're watching it on Facebook, you should go to YouTube anyway and watch it there, because it just looks and sounds better. So get the bus to YouTube if you can, and to watch the rest of the show. Who's this guy?
Lord Binhead.
Lord Count Binface.
Count Binface, Lord Binhead, something like that. He's a good guy, actually. I've no idea what he stands for, because you can't hear him because he's got a bin over his head. But he looks good. I mean, I'd have him as my candidate.
Well, Count Binface says... Well, let's just see what he says on... Okay, so let's just see quickly what he's saying on Brexit. So let's just see what he's saying here. We've got... so this is Count Binface on Brexit, and just to hear a bit about his policies. He's gone for London Mayor.
The British people should be asked again. I suggest there must be another referendum about whether there should be another referendum. Surely that's the thing we can coalesce around. So many people want to pull apart these days. The Scots from the English, the British from the Europeans. Listen, guys, I have seen the size of the asteroid coming your way. You've got bigger things to worry about, literally.
That's a little snippet from Count Binface. If you're watching, mate, there's an open invitation for you. I have tweeted you. Hopefully he can make it later on. We've got the green room's getting busy. It's getting busy.
Oh,
so
good.
We've got 3 guests in the green room already. So let's bring our first one on. In order of appearance, who have arrived first, we've got, first of all, Greg, Energy Advisor. Now, this is an actual treat for You Call That Radio viewers, because for the last 5 weeks, Jim has talked about Greg, Energy Advisor. And, well, Jim, what did you assume Greg, Energy Advisor, to be? And then Greg can explain what he's actually about.
Well, when I saw his name appear, Greg's standing in my constituency, Blackpool South Side, and when I saw his name appear, I thought, oh, that looks really clever. I thought what he was a chancer who had paid his deposit so that he would get the free mail out and all the publicity, and he would just turn up at hustings and say, are you paying too much for your energy? Instead of switching supplier. And I thought it was just a salesman looking to get a good, which I thought was quite impressive anyway. But over the weeks, we've speculated on what he might be about, and Jonathan Shafi pointed out to us that he's a man with one policy, but a very good one. So we've decided to...
You only need one. You only need one good policy. So, Greg, please introduce yourself and tell us about this policy.
Thanks, team. Hi, my name's Greg. Greg, Energy Advisor on the ballot paper. I've been an energy advisor in Glasgow for 7-8 years, and predominantly south side of Glasgow. So my message is renationalise the energy grid. For those that don't know, it was set out by the Tories back in the 80s, but especially for the early 2000s, electricity prices have been up 50%. Gas has doubled, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. So we definitely, I would say, bring back the control, the real benefits, the real profits, and I reckon that we 2.5 million dwellings in Scotland, 5 billion could write off up to £2,000 a year for energy bills. But we name our things as energy bills if we could nationalise the grid, and just, let's say, bye-bye to the big energy suppliers that unfortunately I deal with people who are in hardship. I also deal with people who are not in hardship, people who have had money taken out of their bank accounts with their supplier, doubled. The financial stress, mental, physical, that causes people. So I thought, Greg, go for it. Get a wee message.
Yeah, sorry, Greg, just want to sort of just jump in there and ask about, because if you do move into a house or you get billed wrongly, trying to go through the call centres to get the money sorted out, it's a nightmare. And also I was wanting to know what your opinion on prepay meters are, because as someone who's lived in the houses with prepay meters and you're constantly in emergency, the beeping noise is constantly going off, there's nothing more stressful, and you end up paying like quadruple for your heating in a small flat as someone would pay for in a big house.
Well, getting back, that's the horror stories of pay-as-you-go meters. And again, it depends on how you can budget. So if you've got good budgeting skills, again, then it'll come into how much income you've got. Personally, I've got 2 pay-as-you-go meters for electric and gas. They suit me. They need. So they're good. Stigmatised, always the case. Meters, you've been in debt, something else, but you can, and there is a pay-as-you-go meter as your meter. It's just getting to grips what you're actually spending inside your house on your gas and electric, and And the cost, I can't get away from the cost. The cost of it, as I mentioned, 50% in the space of 50 years. That's shocking.
Right.
I deal with people I got people who say they're greeting. They're absolutely greeting. They don't even know if they can get enough heat to dry the clays for the wains for school in the morning. Or if they're going to be, like you're mentioning, the pay-as-you-go meter, if it's going to conk out before they can get to the stay. I'd wrong smart meter and to do that, to get rid of it so you pop up and go. But they've got bugs, they've got... So the people always the ones that are left to fit the bill, hardship, struggle, financial worry, and I just got my saved up the money for last year that I didn't know what I was going to do with it during lockdown. Just like a lot of people, I didn't run out and just start spending like crazy because you don't know what was going to happen. And then it was just a whim, just a pure spontaneous emotional whim that I just thought, go for it. And I did.
Good on you, man. You definitely get my vote. I'm just going to bring on our second guest of the evening, is the one and only Jesse Rae, I think. Jesse, can you hear me?
Hey.
Jesse. How are you, comrade?
Very good. How's the idea?
Yes, Jesse Rae. I've got some.
I was just going to follow up back on a question to Greg there.
Yeah.
Love the plan, Greg. The ownership of these things is the crucial thing, because these companies are private companies. Their job is to make money for their shareholders. Whereas if it was owned by the public ownership or nationalisation, as you call it, it would be the job of the energy companies would be to supply energy, and that would be it. So things like challenging the environmental problems we have, wouldn't it be seen as a balance of whether it's profitable or whether it needs subsidies? We'd do it because it's the right thing to do with the profits we make from energy. So I think it's a brilliant idea.
I think Greg's got a little bit of a delay. I'm also going to bring on Kathy McCormick. Kathy
McCormick.
Absolute legend. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, Tim.
It's great to see you. Greg, if you just want to log out and back in, Greg, I think you've got a bit of an internet issue there. Just log out and back in, mate, and we'll get you back on. Kathy, it's great to see you. Jesse Rae, it's great to see you. We've got the legends here tonight.
It's a pleasure being here.
I'm staying at the back of the queue.
You're staying at the back of the queue. How you been,
Jesse?
Sorry?
Okay, Jesse, sorry. Jim, you take
Jesse,
it away.
I was going to ask Jesse. I don't know if you know, but what we did during the last 4 weeks, we'll be discussing all sorts of issues, some serious, some less serious. The viewers of You Call That Politics decided that in an independent socialist republic in Scotland, we would vote for Jesse Rae as our president. Would that surprise you that you're still as popular? Or
I'm very flattered.
So Jesse, are you standing? Is it in the Borders? Is it for a regional list, or is it for a constituency seat?
It's for nowhere's land, because this two-vote system is just ridiculous. I thought I was applying for Ettrick, Roxburgh and Berwickshire as an independent candidate, but this second vote means that you can vote for somebody who's in the larger area, but is a faceless person from a faceless party, and actually I'm inside that area. So I had to work with the Electoral Commission, because I thought that this was a bit of a joke, because it's all about power grabbing at the Scottish Parliament, and basically who's for a referendum and who's no.
What if you get elected, Jesse? What would your first thing be if you get into that Scottish Parliament? What would you be doing on day one?
What I've always been doing is to make it a future for the young folk in the Scottish Borders, and the basic things are in this area here is basically to make sure that the shops, name shops shut, and all the shops that are shut open again.
Have they had an issue in the Borders with like property freezing young people out? Do you have that sort of thing with holiday homes and things, making it impossible for young people to buy a house and live where they're brought up?
Oh, aye, but this has gone on for a long, long time. So, my lad's Clinton. He's a joiner, and I've always said to him, you know, that I think it was maybe up, was it Dundee or something like that, where they were getting these sort of like what do you call them again, containers, and making them into self-contained houses. And I think they should have a lot of these on some of the land that's available here on the Scottish borders, so that young families can start somewhere and they can still live here without having to be driven away.
Excellent. It's one of the things about the Scottish borders. As an outsider looking in, when you're talking about land, I always imagine that there's quite a lot of land in the borders owned by some very rich families and big estates and things. Is it still like that?
Oh, aye, of course,
Aye. So it's still Dunbar land.
I've got the. So it's, this is the Jesse Rae card. So www.tv.scot for more information. And what it says here is help our borders youth protect Newtown, Eden general practice, free parking across the Scottish borders, no double lines or one-way systems, save all local shops, open bank branches in every village and town, trade apprentices in every trade, every school to have a community TV and radio station, new abattoir stress and journey free, farmers community TV and radio station, fishermen community TV and radio station, secure household supply of coal and wood for 20 years, Claymore Cup for children's rugby.
But I mean, can you keep the rugby out of a borders election campaign? You need to have
no, that there's that so many been selected and out for the Lions.
Kathy, is Kathy still there?
Yeah, Kathy's here, mate. Yeah, Kathy's here.
Kathy, I was what you asked. Can you hear me?
How do you look normal and I don't look normal?
It's the lighting.
Fancy lighting. Fancy
lighting. So studio lighting. I was going to ask Kathy, you're very well known as a campaigner in Glasgow, and what's your thoughts on this election campaign? Has it excited you at all, or have you been involved at all?
Well, no, I've not obviously been involved, but I just feel that this this is a very unique opportunity for us, and if we miss it this time, it would break my heart. Because at the end of the day, I mean, some of the stuff I talk about, Jim, I didn't read in books. Mm-hmm. I mean, I go back to the early 80s, and basically when the working classes were really thrown under a bus, in particular in Glasgow. And that's the reason why people talk about the Glasgow effect. But at the end of the day, since Thatcher, she tore up the social contract, and then the Tories started to work towards changing Parliament into a financial management institution to service themselves and all the rich cronies. Yeah. And that's exactly what they've done. And under the pandemic, they've used this as if it's their own personal casino.
Yeah.
And see, by time and all that propaganda about taking back control. Taking back control of what?
Aye, exactly. Yeah.
National.
But that's a great point, Kathy, about that. The social contract. I mean, there's no doubt, not just through Thatcher, through the bank crash, through the expenses scandal, cash for questions, that not just here in Scotland or Britain, that right across the world, people are absolutely fed up with politicians and the old way of doing things. And sometimes we've been a wee bit lucky in Scotland, because there can be a real danger in that. When you look at what happened in America with Trump, when you look at Bolsonaro in Brazil, people, when they feel disillusioned and disenfranchised, can sometimes turn to some real nasty characters.
Well, it's true. A lot of people have actually adore a real nasty character that's in number 10.
Yeah, of course. Aye.
People thought about people
Not count Binface, not count Binface. Other game. Got Bruce Morton's in the house. Hello, Bruce.
Bruce, how's it going?
We've got
Southside.
Tam saying now North Ayrshire calling civilization. Come join us. Put a shilling in the meter, mother. Top of the Pops is coming on. Greg, Energy Advisor, spot on. Greg, Energy Advisor, just came back at the right time.
Excellent.
Tam, just agreeing with you there. Lewis saying, I've all of a sudden started paying more on my prepaid meter, even though I'm using less with the lights going on later, etc. It's jumped up by around £5 per week. It's an absolute nightmare. We've got John McKinley in the house. Hello, folks. Hope all's well. Ali Grant's here. Evening, you lot. Just got soaked going up to vote. The weather doesn't know what to do. It's been snowing. It's been sunny. Got Mary says, great to see you all, especially Kathy. Well, there's been a lot of people excited to have you back, Kathy, because Kathy was on the show before. I think it was last summer, and it was a brilliant interview. Kathy really enjoyed it, so I'd recommend people check that one out after that. And is your book? What was it, Kathy? I think the last time we spoke, your book was on its way. Is there any left?
Well, obviously the book's now out of print, but there is some copies stashed away. But I'm really
telling us where?
Sorry?
You telling us where?
In the garden.
Well, maybe a reprint. Maybe by popular demand, we'll maybe print some more. Enough advance orders.
Tam saying, does Greg have any info on GMAP? Is that GMAP?
GMAP. Greg, do you want to come in on that? Because we don't know what it is.
GMAP.
Yeah.
You don't know either.
No, cut me off of that one.
Petra's there in the house. Hello, Petra. We've got the price of meters is a disgrace, says Greasy. Prepaid meters are a disgrace. Just another way to rip off desperate people. Absolutely. Evening, folks. Remember your ABC, anyone but Conservative. Your shouts to all the Tory supporters. Remember to stay home and protect the NHS.
One of the things we've been doing over the last 5 weeks is making this a Tory-free zone. But I know some people might think that that's unfair, but starving people to death is unfair as well. So I think it's a fair balance, to be honest. I was going to ask Jesse and Greg, who have been standing as independents, about the campaign so far. When you've been out, maybe come to Jesse first, but when you've been out campaigning, have you detected any kind of different mood this time? Are people enthusiastic, fed up, or what's your thoughts on the actual campaigning and how people are responding to it?
Well, I think first of all it's ignorance about what, and this is no disrespect to the public, about an independent. And I think it goes right back to school, to university, to into politics, debating. And people then really don't have any respect for an independent who's not somebody who was this illusion with the party that got them in power in the first place and then decided to tunnel off and do it themselves. And I had a very interesting thing. You might be interested because, as you know, if you read about my stuff on what they've all going on to have our own radio and television authority on the Scottish borders. And I did an interview just before I came on here with Alan McGilvray for Border Radio. And the reason he was coming today to interview me was because Ofcom has told him that you can't broadcast an independent on the day of the election. You have to play it tomorrow.
But after the election?
The independents are coming up against. And I've had nothing but major trouble this time around being independent. From, well, just so you know anyway, they being censored in my articles for local newspaper, for ITV, and he wasn't allowed to mention the ITV programme, for ITV Borders, a programme called Representing Borders, which is a special that they did on the 15th of April, right in the middle of the postal voting. And of all the candidates, the 6 candidates they had, they didn't invite me. And we took it up with Ofcom. They said that their guidelines are that the ITV network can basically eliminate an independent.
That's terrible, correct?
And it's worse than that. That on the 7th of April, when the ballot papers came back from the printers, they misspelt my name. But they had gone out all over the place, and it wasn't until the 26th of April they discovered it. So they wouldn't agree to reprinting them all because they said it was too late, enough time. And again, the independent loses out here. And so half the ballot papers, if you go along today and get it, have got my name spelled properly. But the other half, the important ones, because 72% of all the ballot papers that were postal ballot papers had come in when they discovered it. And this is the kind of carry on that, and last night I got taken off Facebook for saying what I said about the vaccine. I don't want young children getting the vaccine. I don't want young borders getting the vaccine at all. And they took me off that. So all in all, if you're an independent, you've had it.
Greg, is that how's your experience? You've obviously standing in a very high-profile seat, being it's the leader of the SNP and the leader of the Labour Party are the 2 candidates you're up against. Have you found any barriers to it? Have you been genuinely had a good reception when you're out there, or are people ignoring?
No, I wouldn't say they're ignoring, but you're absolutely right. It was a tactical move to try and get more focus on my message. We already know there's large charities, Energy Acts in Scotland, but again, as much as they are a help, they're helping obviously with the action. My message is try and get to the cause, which is the suppliers, which is we pay for the energy and then we're paying for it again. So we're always getting double bubbled. But a very small fish within a very large pond, especially with the top, basically top 2 politicians in the land at the moment going head to head. But so fair, Jim, fair, quiet, but fair.
Have you had
Sorry, could someone explain to me why have they got the leader of the Labour Party going against the leader of the SNP? It doesn't seem like am I missing something? It doesn't seem like a very smart move politically.
It's really because Labour won't win any, because of the 2 vote thing. Labour won't win any first past the post seats in Glasgow. So it is really just about, and as Sarwar would tend to want to be elected through the regional list, and is standing where he lives. So he actually, this is his local seat. So it kind of standing in the constituency seat for Labour in Glasgow is more or less about just a sort of campaigning tactic, if you like, to get votes on the regional list.
Could you just confirm as well, another question that I've been asked, because I've been hearing so much different information about, some people are saying both votes SNP, but then obviously when you did all that stuff with Alba saying that it's 1 vote for SNP, 1 vote for Alba, then obviously a lot of the counter argument is, well, if you're going to do that, it should be 1 SNP, 1 for Green, or someone else. What is the actual reality in that?
The reality is, Mark, that a lot of people speculate in things that they can't possibly predict, because these sort of votes depend on how other parties do in your list, how many first past the post seats you win and things like that. So it's a very difficult thing to predict. I understand what Alba and Scottish Greens and others would say about maximising the indie vote, but it's a recipe for disaster if you try and play tactics with your vote. I always think that the thing you do with your first vote is you choose the person on that list who you would like to represent your constituency. And on the second vote, you choose who you think the party with the best policies that you would like to see in government. And that's kind of the way I would. And people who try and game it and try and use the system to their own advantage might fall flat in the face, because that tactic might not work. You know, you might end up, a lot of votes for Alba might end up letting the Tories beat the Greens and Alba to another seat and things like that. So I personally wouldn't advise it, because it might seem like a good idea on paper, but at the end of the day, I think most people do just go and vote for the party they agree with most, and encouraging people to use tactical voting. It might not even give us a true reflection of the country. You could end up with 80% of the seats being parties that are pro-independence, when maybe only 50% of the people support independence. So it doesn't even give you a true reflection. So I'm a bit cynical about it all. I think people should be encouraged to vote for what they see on a leaflet, the policies that people put out, and the one you agree with most, put your X next to them.
We've got another special guest in the green room, Jim. Do you think it's time to bring on our very special secret guest?
Yeah, I think so. If anyone else doesn't mind, yeah, we should bring on a very special secret guest who's on for a very good reason.
Let's do it.
Your call is very important. Please hold.
We have a very special guest coming on just now. Jim, I'll let you do the introduction.
Well, one of the things we did over recent weeks is we held various polls, and one of them was...
Sorry, Jim, can I just stop you on that point? Actually, just 2 seconds. Just to let the Kathy, Jesse and Greg know that you are still here. I'm going to bring you back on in a little minute. Feel free to hang around for as long as you like tonight, because there's lots of things to talk about. But you're in the back room just now, but I'll bring you back on once we've spoken to our special guest. Jim, take it away.
Yeah, one of the things we've been doing in recent weeks is we're having various polls, asking our viewers various questions and what they think. And one of the things that emerged, that in a new independent republic in Scotland, that the viewers of You Call That Radio have decided that our national anthem should be Young at Heart by the Bluebells. So we've got Ken Mccluskey on to accept the award.
Hello, Ken.
Thank you very much.
There he is.
Greatly honoured to accept the award. I could put it up on my shelf behind me.
Round of applause. Congratulations, and it's an absolute honour to have you on the show, Ken.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you. First time on.
First time caller. Yeah, we had a vote. We had a vote, and it was really close. Well, it was close at the start. I think it was really close between you guys and Primal Scream, and my band was right at the bottom. We weren't close, but
yeah. I actually voted. It was on Twitter, wasn't it? But I voted for somebody I'd never heard before. I pressed the wrong button.
Oh, that'll be my band.
It's probably your band.
Yeah, that's probably why I got 2 votes, because I voted for myself as well. So, yeah, I got the 2 votes in there. But well, I'll leave you guys to it just now. I'll be here if you need a cup of tea.
How's it going, Ken?
Not bad at all. Yeah, just in from voting.
How often do you get the Young at Heart thing? I mean, that song is just such an absolute classic. I mean, how many years ago was it out? What year was it?
It was first released in 1984, and it got to number 8 in the charts. And then it was re-released on the back of a Volkswagen advert.
Wow.
In 1993, and the Volkswagen advert was some of you will remember it if you're old enough. It was a woman celebrating her divorce. So she's come down the stairs dressed up in white. People were throwing confetti at her, and she drives away with just divorce cans and streamers and all that. But loads of people of a certain age, especially women of a certain age, come up to me all the time and say, "Oh, I love that song. It reminds me of my divorce."
Brilliant, yeah. So it's a freedom.
Yeah,
freedom song. Yeah,
freedom. So if anybody's had at that time, especially people of a certain age who remember it, and they just go, "Oh, I love that. It's really brilliant. It reminds me of a divorce," and it's really quite a strange thing, but take it.
Brilliant. We've got Jesse Rae with us tonight. One of the things our viewers voted for was Jesse as the president of a new Scottish Republic. So I mean, that's something to look forward to in the future. We'll have Jesse Rae on the presidential throne or whatever it is we give him, with the bluebells playing in the background. I mean, that's...
Yeah, he might need a VIP bag for his Claymore, right enough.
Yeah, I've heard, Jesse, is that right, that your Claymore has been banned from the polling station?
Oh, not really. Not really. I mean, the funny thing about it is I've taken this Claymore all around the world, and the only place I ever have any problem with is Scottish Borders Council.
Typical.
What about airport security?
No, that's a sore point actually, because I never go through Heathrow now because I always fly direct to Scotland whenever I can anyway. But the last time I came back from recording in Miami, I was waiting up at Edinburgh Airport, and I was waiting, and the Claymore didn't turn up. And then next flight it came up, and it had been bent in half, and it had all these obscenities written all over it about Braveheart. And so I swore that I would never go through Heathrow again.
Terrible. Ken, have you been out? Have you been enjoying the elect? Have you been watching the coverage? Have you been enjoying it at all, or bored with it? Or
I've been kind of watching it in and out. I've not been watching it constantly because it seems to, kind of be the same old sort of idea of people trying. There's a few weak leaders, I think, in some of the Scottish parties, and I've got a very low cringe threshold. So I just can't watch something. Well, I watch it to a certain extent, then I go, just stop that. You get people just putting in spoilers and jumping in people's conversations all the time, and what about that? All that kind of stuff. And it's kind of tedious. So yeah, I do try and watch it, and I have been following it. It's probably the same as everybody else. Not more than less than anybody else, I don't think.
How are you voting? Are you in the south side? Are you in Glasgow south side?
I'm in the West End, darling.
West End, are you? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, so you couldn't vote for Greg Energy Advisor, our local candidate. Yeah.
No.
Do you want to tell us how you vote, or are you not caring? Or
yeah. Well, I'm a fan of Nicola Sturgeon. I voted for Nicola Sturgeon in the main vote. My local vote went to Patrick Harvey, who I think is a fantastic guy, Green Party. So I voted for both people, as you were talking earlier. I vote for who I want, not tactically or whatever to try and stitch somebody up or whatever. Right. I like Nicola Sturgeon. I think she's done a great job. I know a lot of people are kind of blaming her for this and that and blah, 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 blah. She's had a right hard time, I think, recently. And I think she's really stuck to her guns. Patrick Harvey, I think, just comes across as a really honest bloke. And he round about here, he's great for the local community. The Green Party are fantastic in helping clean up things like litter, things like rebuilding. So I live in Woodlands, so it's lower West End. So they have the Woodlands community gardens, and
it's a brilliant place. The Woodlands community thing. Yeah.
And so they get us all together, and we get the grabbers and the high vis jackets on, and we go about cleaning up bits and fixing old people's gardens and all that kind of stuff. So it brings the community together. And there's a woman called Martha Wardrop, who's the sort of councillor, so she's really involved in all that. So yeah, the Green Party got my local vote, and the SNP got my vote for national vote.
Good. And also, any of our viewers tuning in, if you want to tell us who you voted for, we've put a ban on that in recent weeks, but it's the election night. If you want to tell us who you voted for and why, then feel free. Or if you didn't vote and you want to tell us that, then by all means let us know.
We've got a few comments coming in here. Soapy says, can someone say to Ken, thanks for his work with Stow and younger up and coming artists over the years. Youngsters need a lift, and Ken has been amazing for Scottish music. Absolutely. So many good artists came through the college. And also, Ken, I was wanting to ask you about the gig, because you actually played a gig last year, last night from Glasgow. I think it was their showcase gig.
Yeah.
That looked amazing. A few of my friends were at that. What was it like? Because obviously, I went to the SWG3 for a kind of dance music night round about the same week. and obviously it was a completely different experience because everyone's sitting down. But I think the SWG3 did such a good job of giving everyone a safe environment, and you could buy your drinks off the app, etc. But I was just wondering what it was like, just playing a gig at all in the middle of a pandemic. And
they did a really good job because the health and safety, as you know, was totally mental. With the council and all that. So they did a fantastic job last night from Glasgow, and the people at SWG3. It was socially distanced, so you had picnic tables, and you could buy a picnic table which could hold 6 people from 2 families. I think it was 2 different households, but they were spaced out quite far away from each other. And we were in a big tent with no sides on it, so just a sort of awning sort of thing. The place would probably normally have held, I would reckon, about 800, 900. They were only allowed to sell about 150 tickets. We did a gig in the afternoon and one at night. Both were, there was probably 150 each one. Personally, we were distanced on the stage, so there was one here and one away over there. So when you're doing harmonies, it's kind of weird, because usually I sing close from my brother. I just look at him and I know exactly what he's doing. So I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing over there? But it was like playing at really good. Thanks very much, SWG3 and last night from Glasgow. But from a punter's point of view and a performer's point of view, it was probably playing at the shit tent in a festival.
Right.
That's usually where I'm playing.
There's nobody, you know what I mean? You're not in the big bustling way. You're at the quiet tent,
Or the poetry tent would be the
poetry tent. Yeah,
the poetry tent, the poetry tent, which is always for some inexplicable reason right next to the drum and bass tent.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, Jim, I've seen you in the Wicker Man poetry tent, and it was mobbed. So that's not fair. It was mobbed. It was small. It was small, but it was mobbed. Yeah.
It was raining as well. That's why it was probably a lot of people.
That's where I met you, Jim. I think that's where I met you at the Wicker Man poetry tent many moons ago.
Yeah. So many things happened at the Wicker. Well, I wrote a poem about the Wicker Man Festival because it was such an important festival to me, being from sort of Southwest, and having that place and having that kind of atmosphere. It was a tribute to the guys that founded it and things. And Jamie Gilroy is no longer with us, but I miss it. It was a wonderful and very, very supportive of small acts and poets and things. Yeah. So we'd get you along and pay you, unlike the other festivals for poets. So I loved it, and I wish we still had it every summer, to be honest.
Can I just talk about small audiences? As the Mccluskey brothers, we played in the Wicker Man. Sorry, not Wicker Man. Glastonbury a couple of times, and we were playing in the acoustic tent. But the acoustic tent maybe holds about 2,000, so it's a big deal. It's mobbed. Yeah. It's mobbed all the time. So the sound engineer informed us that the Velvet Underground had reformed and were on at the same time as us, and there would be nobody watching us because he wanted to go and watch the Velvet Underground. So he said, if you just hide for a wee while, 20 minutes, because the tent completely emptied, gone from 2,000 to nobody, and it was on top of a hill. So it just emptied. Everybody went to see the Velvet Underground, but there were so many people wanting to go and see the Velvet Underground that you couldn't see them. It was impossible. So it was amazing. It was kind of biblical. You just started seeing all these people trekking up this hill, and we're like, yes. And we had a full tent. It was quite good.
Actually, one thing that I found out quite early about playing festivals, if you're in a band, if there's anyone watching here, is that when you start, there's nobody there, but don't worry, just start playing because you're going to get chucked off when your set time's over anyway. And it's an amazing feeling when the crowd gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you play. Sometimes it can go the other way. That's happened as well when you empty a tent, which is not it's not as fun.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask is, Greg, we didn't really speak to you about. I mean, did you vote for yourself?
No, I'll keep my voting to myself if you don't mind. I do agree with Jim and Ken about the tactical voting. You can't tactical vote yourself. You actually need a group. You need a very, very large group for your tactical voting, for everybody to then be involved in that tactic. So, I'm with I think that the tactical voting's just been a bit of another eye on something else.
Jesse Rae, can I just ask, is there any politicians in Scotland, I know that you've been very critical of many of them, is there any politicians in Scotland that would have got your vote if they'd been in your area?
No.
Excellent.
I say that because look, I want Scotland to be a nation. I want Scotland to be a nation again, but you know, how many times are you going to have a go at it? When I was in Glasgow in 2016 and I saw folk like Union Jacks chucking them away just at the end of my show I was doing. And I thought this was it, you see. But you see, to be quite honest, the Brexit thing has completely changed everything, and I think that the powers that be are hard at work spending an awful lot of money, because this area here is the most sought after area in Scotland because it's right on the border. And the problem I'm having is that as much as I want Scotland to be a nation, it's going to be another 20 years here. They've blown it so many times now. And the last time was, you know, breaking away and our oil. And as soon as you say these two things, that's the end. So what I'm standing here for is for the young people in the Scottish borders to give them a future here. And the parties, as I said, the second vote is just nonsense. It's all about power grabbing in the Scottish Parliament. And the borders, as always, loses out. And when it loses out, so does the future of young people. So, you know, the Scottish National Party have known me for a long time. They've never asked me to stand for them because I'm too extreme. You know, they're too interested in, you know, whatever it is, biscuit tin and stuff abroad. But when it comes to, you know, somebody who's passionate about Scotland as me, they just ignore me. So I'd always made up this, you know, I'd always made it my point that I first stood in 2007 because I wanted to tell the Scottish borders that they were going to lose all the bank branches, because I'd been fighting the biggest bank in the world for 18 years, so I knew exactly what was going to be happening. Nobody listened. But I'm back here again, and I'm here for the young people in the Scottish borders. But to be quite honest, it's only the last week, ever since my, you know, what I've been standing for has been drawn a bit of attention. I've heard other major parties talking about young people. Never bothered at all. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not wanting the Scottish borders to be the north of England. I'm not wanting the Scottish borders to be South Edinburgh. I want the Scottish borders to be really an independent state. Because if you can show the way forward, then maybe some of the ideas, if I had been given the opportunity to, maybe some of the ideas we've got here could be spread around the rest of Scotland as an example.
Amazing, Jess. Jesse, we've got another guest, so I've got to do the Royal Rumble countdown. It's Kevin P. Gilday.
There he is.
Hello. How you doing?
You're in the outside world, live.
I'm outside. I'm currently in the pub.
Have you been excited with the election, Kevin? Are you out campaigning or on your way to vote, or could you not give a shit?
I've already voted, and it was a very underwhelming experience. It turns out that no one in Springburn is politically engaged. They don't give a fuck.
Well, are you telling us how you cast your vote, or are you keeping that secret?
I mean, I'm going to keep my main vote secret, but obviously my my regional went to Greens because I'm not a psychopath.
Well, I was talking to a good friend who I won't name, but I was talking to a good friend who said that they didn't want to vote for Greens, even though they knew it was the right thing, because they're worried that it would mean more wheelie bin shenanigans, and you'd need to get an extra wheelie bin or something like that. Are you not worried that your wheelie bins colours, your wheelie bins are going to change?
I'm not too worried about my wheel bin, to be honest. I saw Darren McGarvey's thing the other day where he says I would vote for Greens, but I know they would cancel me, and I thought that probably applies to me as well. I'm probably on the Green cancel list, but at the same time, like, yeah, they all seem sound, don't they? They're all right. They're just well-educated boys.
They are. I did a Green Party fundraiser one time with another independence movement, the Greater Shorehams Republic, with Bruce Morton and things. And I spent most of the night telling them like how boring they were, and they just they lapped it up and laughed. They thought it was great and all that. I did a bit where I explained to them what a trade union was. I said it's like what people in real jobs that aren't the architects or permaculture performance poets. And they loved it, so I quite like them because they take all that in good spirits, you know.
Yeah. I still remember doing a fundraiser for the Greens, and I told this story before maybe, but I was sitting beside Patrick Harvey, and he needed to go for a piss, and instead of saying to me, "Can you move it the way so I can go for a piss?" He ducked under the table, which I found to be. I don't know if I want to vote for a guy that ducks under the table rather than says.
It's pretty small though. It's pretty small, so it might have just been the easiest way out. You know what I mean?
He only needed to duck down very slightly.
We've got some comments coming in. Petra saying, my postal vote was a farce. I ripped off the wrong bit, asked for a new one. They said it's fine. I then called again and said I'd changed my mind. They said score it out, old vote, and put X in the new box. Is this proof of vote rigging?
Yes. Scrap the vote. Get Giuliani in and we'll sort it all out.
Yeah, Giuliani. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was wondering, do you think we'd get away for a quick song break? I was wondering, you think what would happen to the copyright robots if we played Young at Heart or New National Anthem?
I think it'd be okay. I think it'd be all right. I think it'd be.
Use the YouTube one. It'll be nobody in London Records, if they still exist, will notice it if you use that old one. If you use the old video, I would imagine.
Well, publishers love this kind of thing. It's advertising.
Just before you do that, Mark, at 8 o'clock or just after 8, we're going to be joining some of the candidates live for polling stations. So I just wanted to, in case they have to go on with campaigning, I wanted to give Greg and Jesse the chance for a last word in before, if there's anything you want to say to your voters.
Absolutely, man. I just want to give a shout out. Ian Diamond's in the house. He says he's getting his Stowe flashbacks. Where is it? Oh shit, I'm getting Stowe flashbacks. Stowe alumni represent and fuck the Tories, says Ian Diamond. So yeah, let's just go around, because we're going to be going live to the polling stations. So let's go around and Greg, have you got any final words on the campaign or the message you're trying to get across? You're on mute.
Muted.
It's the muted. It's the mute.
It's the mute.
Energy bills. I hate that mute. See that mute? I can't see you all the time in the scenes.
Do you hate the mute button more than energy bills though?
Is it? At least you don't have the cat filter on.
That's it. Regardless who's in power, my personal opinion, even if we were independent or no, the energy suppliers, if they're still friends with those that run the country, then energy bills are always going to keep going up. There's always going to be fuel poverty. 1 in 3 of Scottish people from Scotland are affected of some sort of fuel poverty, so it's not going to go away. So this poll next 5 years isn't going to go away. But everybody can ask their elected SNP to make a change. So
Excellent, Greg. Thank you.
Absolutely,
Vote-
Greg.
vote for Greg.
I think it's a good point as well, because what we've done is you've actually underlined one important issue. When what normally happens is politicians come in with all sorts of flowery language that they're going to do this and that, and it's very vague, innit? It's usually quite vague language. So I appreciate that, Greg. Thank you very much.
Take the profit out of energy.
Thank you.
Kathy, but it's been an absolute pleasure to see you again, Kathy. And I'm going to put a link in the comments to the interview that Kathy done and You Call That Radio last
It's a brilliant
summer,
show. It was a great show.
Everyone must watch it. If just the amount that I've learned every time I speak to you, Kathy, I always appreciate your time. What have you got any final thoughts on the election or any hopes for the new year? If you were in charge, you were voted in, what's the one thing that you would try and do straight away that could fix this?
Now you're asking something, Mark. But at the end of the day, we all live a lie, and the only way anything will ever change is we accept that nobody is really facing up to reality that people's actually living under. I mean, like fuel poverty. Okay, as you said, well, that's treating it's treating symptoms. It's not tackling the cause, and Greg said. But poverty, my thing is poverty. I mean, Mark, I started away out in 1982, fuel poverty. And people were forced to live on a gyro. Yeah, because since then, they've become one of the richest countries.
Yeah.
But they'll never solve poverty. For the simple reason that far too many people are dependent on people's poverty for their lifestyle.
Yeah.
There's a mass poverty industry, and that's what breaks my heart, Mark. It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
So anybody, see when I hear anybody on TV or any politicians or any of the campaign organisations, we need to do this to get rid of poverty, we need to do that to get rid of poverty. That is an insult to the people that are actually experiencing poverty. An absolute
Tackling.
insult.
That's what I hear, Kathy. That's what I picked up in the last week.
That's right. I mean,
They want to tackle poverty. They don't actually stop it. They want to tackle it here, tackle it there. It's always tackling.
And the other big myth that we all have with is that the wealth in this country trickles down for the rich. When in your experience, the wealth in this country is being gushing up for the working classes.
Absolutely, Kathy. That's the gap between the richest and the poorest has grown and grown and grown. It's bigger than it was in Charles Dickens' time when he wrote about it, and it's an absolute national disgrace. As this pandemic has shown, that a handful of people have made absolutely billions, while the majority of people are struggling to get by from day to day, and that's the reality of the country we live in. So yeah, so we've got. End fuel poverty, nationalise the energy industry. Kathy says, smash capitalism.
Stop tackling poverty. Give it the red card. Send it off. No more tackles. Send straight red card. Get poverty sent for an early shower. And I love that. I've never actually heard it put that way before. Instead of trickle down economics, it's gushing up economics.
Absolutely. Jesse Rae, does anything you want to say before we go on to the next part of the show? A final one for your voters.
There's still time to vote for Jesse Rae if you're in the area.
I don't know. Do you want a song?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. I want a song.
I'm not going to tell you this because Mark McGee here, he put me in touch with this guy called Stevie Creed, a boxer, and the Emmy in Glasgow. And out of it, and all of this came out, a song called Save Me to the World is Safe.
I think I'm going to get the exclusive banner up for this. This is Jesse Rae live. You've got 2 hours left to vote for Jesse if you live in the... Where is the area again? Sorry, I'll get that on the screen. If you're in the Ettrick, Roxburgh or Berwickshire area, you still have time.
Oh, it's just begun. Like the rain in the morning sun. Aye, 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 aye. Sing, sing, free, free walk. The world of shame. Aye, 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 and it is. Oh, ha! Like the morning snow. Save me, come on and save me. Free, free walk. The world of shame. Aye, 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 you do. When will I be in your kiss again? Come on and properly. The first folk of Scotland. Save me, come on and save me. Free, free what? The world of shame. Aye, 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 and if you do. Oh, like the morning sun. Aye, 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 aye. Save me, come on and save me. Free, free what? The world of shame. Aye, 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 and if you do. When will I be in your kiss again? And save me. Come on in. So for all the people out there, I heard about poverty tonight. I don't think that people really know what poverty is about. Save me, come on and save me. Free, free what? The world of shame. Aye, 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 you do. When will I be in your kiss again? Save me. Come on and those kids in poverty. Save me. Thank you.
You call that radio?
Here to tell people that we hear you. One job will not allow.
You call that radio.
However you want to say it.
You call that radio?
You call that radio. However you want to say it, that's kind of part of the fun.
Powered by our patrons.
Brothers and sisters.
Incredible stuff there from Jesse Rae. We
An
are
exclusive.
indeed powered,
Brilliant.
exclusive. We are indeed powered by our patrons. So if you're enjoying tonight's show or any of the shows we've done about 300 shows since lockdown began, and it's all because of people that support the Patreon. I'll put the link in the comments if anyone wants to pay the price of a pint or a coffee a month, and you also get bonus material and giveaways and stuff as well. So the Patreon link's in the comments. Thanks to everyone who has supported it. We just really couldn't have done it without you. So thank you for that. And thank you to Jesse Rae, absolutely smashing it in the most unexpected way. Thanks to Greg, Energy Advisor, as well. We're still here just now. I think Kevin Gilday's away now. We've still got Kathy. We've still got Ken. It's an absolute pleasure to have 3 legends. Jim's here as well. So 3 absolute legends still with us just now. Jim, I don't know what's going to happen next tonight. It's election night. Seems to be a lot of excitement in the air. But there's much more to come.
There's much more to come. Right now, I think we should be just about to see the arrival of some of our candidates. We had people taking part in the discussions in recent weeks that are actually candidates for the parties, but they were not allowed to promote their party when they were in our discussions. So we're going to allow them a wee blast from the ballot box to come back on and promote themselves. So I'm looking to see if Paul Sweeney, Roza Salih, and
Paul Sweeney's in the house.
And Elaine Gallagher are
Elaine
joining
Gallagher's
us.
in the house.
Hi folks, how are you? How's it going?
Hi, not bad, Jim. How you doing?
Where are you, Paul? Are you out at the polling stations, or are you still banging on doors?
I'm up banging doors in Springburn. Got the colours on, you know. So I've got the leaflets out. So all ready to go. Working up at 10 o'clock.
How's it been going? Have you been getting a good reaction? Have you been?
Aye, it's been good despite the weather, and you know, a lot of enthusiasm for a fresh approach to politics, particularly in Glasgow, especially after the last couple of weeks with all the talk of cuts to community centres and libraries and so on. I think people are pretty pissed off, to be honest with you. So I think folk are up for a bit of a change, you know. So it's been good, and I think certainly been reassured going round speaking to Labour supporters. They're very much coming out and voting for us. There's not any sense that MD's slipped away, you know. So fingers crossed we can hold our own in the election. It's going to be a long weekend finding out what the results are, you know, because it's all staggered. There's no overnight count. It's going to be staggered over the Friday, Saturday, you know.
So you're third, I believe, on the Glasgow regional list. So there's a reasonable chance of you actually being elected to the Scottish Parliament. Now, I know you've been an MP before for a short spell. So you might be moving to a different Parliament. Would that be? Do you think there's any difference, or do you think it'll be much the same when you get there?
Well, you know, it's all about, for me, it's not about the venue, it's about what you can do to help people on the ground, you know. It's all been to me. It's a means to an end as far as I'm concerned, you know. And, you know, I got into politics because I'm restless and frustrated with the way the city's run, and some of the maladministration that's gone on for a long time now. You know, the city's been hammered with cuts that's really not justified. And I'm up for getting tore in there, you know, and also dealing with some of the stuff we've had in the last couple of weeks in Glasgow to do with dawn raids against asylum seekers and some of the other issues we've had to deal with. You know, I'm all for, you know, also looking at drug reform, which is a project I've been working on with Peter Crichton. So I definitely, like a coiled spring, you know, I'd be happy to get back into the front line and try and make some headway on these issues. You know, it's not really about the what letters are after your name, it's about how effective you are at advancing other people's arguments, i.e. the arguments of people who don't always have a voice in the corridors of power, you know what I mean? That's what it's all about for me.
It is a cold day, and I think it's worth Lazy Boy researcher says don't spread COVID while on a video call, Paul, but it's freezing.
Don't worry, I'm trying to keep I've got a cramp in my arm, that's why I've been putting my leaflets through doors. I'm bringing my camera up. I know you got a steady cam.
Angela would just like to say as well, it was an amazing emotional performance from Jesse Rae. It certainly was. Jay Lee wanted to congratulate Kathy on her, what she said, facts, and amazing big ups for Kathy as well. Sorry, Jim. I'm sorry. I'll be here if you need a cup of tea.
Elaine Gallagher, how are you? Elaine back. Most of you know. Sorry, a bit of delirium. Sorry.
Yes.
Was it Elaine? Most of you will have seen on the show before, discussing representation in politics. She's also a very well-known member of the Scottish spoken word scene. So, have you been out campaigning today, Elaine? Have you wrapped it now?
Yeah, I was out this morning delivering leaflets, and then I went down to the south side. So I was standing outside the Holyrood's high school polling station for a few hours in the rain, and yeah, now I'm exhausted. I'm going to get an early bed, going to get a glass of wine, and then it'll be up early to get over to the Emirates for the count.
The count's all day tomorrow.
Count's all day tomorrow and all day Saturday.
All day Saturday as well.
Can I ask about the counts? Why is obviously I know it's COVID related, but why is it taking so long this time?
It's because even though they put it in a place the size of the Emirate, they've only got so many people that they can actually fit into the space and keep social distance and work distance and so forth. So, like counts previously, what they would do is pack great big tables with hundreds of people all sorting out as fast as possible. But this time around, they have to, take it a bit easier. They have to stagger the deliveries because they don't actually have so many crew actually doing it.
And how's it been out in the campaign trail for the Greens? We've got a lot of people tonight saying the Scottish Greens are going to be their second vote, Elaine. Are you getting a good response like that on the doors?
It was brilliant, yeah. Anybody who actually came to the door, we've just been delivering leaflets rather than speaking to people for obvious reasons. But anytime somebody heard the letterbox and answered the door, it was a smile and how you doing? And then when we were outside the polling stations, there have been some people who have been a bit aggressive, like some anti-trans campaigners who get a couple of Zoomers, that kind of thing. But most of the time, I had no problems. I had people waving and smiling, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff, standing there with the big green placard there.
Brilliant.
Paul's got a 3% battery, Jim, so if you want to maybe bring him in just now before he disappears.
That's what I was going to do, Matt. Is it just any final words, Paul? We'll let you get back to charging your phone, especially as you're outside in the cold. Anything you'd like to say, Paul, before you... I think he's out. I've lost him.
Yeah, there's two Pauls, but I don't think either of them can hear us. Paul, can you hear us? I don't think so. I think it's maybe his battery is run out.
That's fine. Has there anyone else arrived in the room from the polling stations yet? Have we, Mark?
I don't have anyone else from the polling stations right now.
We're waiting for.
I could get.
We're waiting for Roza. No, it's okay. We're just. It's okay. We were just waiting for another candidate. We've had the Labour Party candidate on. We've had
someone who's in the queue voting. I'm going to phone someone and see if I can get someone else that's in the queue.
That'd be good.
Get some live polling action.
So, Elaine, you're actually a candidate as well, I believe.
Yeah, I'm on the list, but what we reckon is that 3 people. We've got a good chance of getting 3 people elected. Whether we get one for the constituency, and that would be Patrick, and then after that, the voting system would count him against the other 2, the other one. So we reckon that we can get 3 people, if we're lucky, elected. And the list order is Patrick, number 1, Kim Long, number 2, Nadia Kanyangi, number 3. And then I'm number 6 on the thing. So they're calling me a support candidate, which means I get to welcome people at the polling stations while the other 3 buzz around like absolute maniacs, visiting every station that they can.
Brilliant. So unlikely to get elected unless there's some massive surprise where everybody in the whole of Glasgow has voted Green.
if everybody in the whole of Glasgow votes Green and we absolutely devastate the regional list, then I might get to be an MSP. But I'll wait till next year because I'm standing in the same constituency as where you live as a councillor.
Would you like to be an MSP, or would that be a disaster if you were elected?
I'd like to be an MSP. There's so much that you need that we need to do. The Greens are taking effectively the position that we tip the balance a lot of the time, really thumb on the scales for basically for the Greens' favoured policies, and we get a lot of stick for going along with the SNP a lot of the time, but the Greens' policies, like we got different reasons for favouring independence. Say, the SNP are for independence because that's what the party's for. The Greens are for independence.
Can I just ask you a little bit about that? Because I find it really, in my experience, it seems to be a positive thing that the reason people are voting their second vote Greens is because that Greens are pro-independence. And I was just wondering what the thinking is behind that, because obviously Greens, I mean, the Greens down south, do they just respect the decision of Scotland wanting to be independent, or because it's obviously Labour is something that they don't want to really get involved in?
But the difference between Labour and Greens is that Labour UK is all one party, including in Scotland, and the Greens England and Wales are a separate party from the Greens Scotland and Greens Northern Ireland. So, but we're all kind of agreed. The basic principle, or one of the basic principles of the Green movement worldwide, is democracy as low level as possible. So you make the decisions where the people who are actually affected by the decisions are living. So if it's a thing about bins, then it's the local council or it's the community council that needs to be worrying about that. If it's a thing about controlling polluting corporations, then you need national, international government. So the Scottish Greens are in favour of independence because too many of the decisions that affect Scottish people are made in Westminster without any kind of control from where we are. Whereas, like, conditions here are different than they are down south. People's needs are different than they are down south.
Jesse Rae was just saying there about, independence for the borders. I know that Jim's and Bruce are part of a Shawlands breakaway, the Greater Shawlands Republic. You're all for independence of Shawlands. Could you tell us a bit about that, Jim?
The Greater Shawlands Republic believe in an independent, funky republic in the south side, part of a network of independent, funky republics around the world. We're going to build a wall and make the West End pay for it.
Greg says, I hope the Greens pick up a few extra seats. Says Greg. Alan says, best of luck to all the candidates apart from any racist or fascist candidates. Angela says, I voted Labour. So that's
silence.
So if anyone else is wanting to let us know who voted, feel free. And also, we'll respect your privacy if not. Still not got Rosa here yet, but I think we're going to try and see what the copyright robots think of us playing the new national anthem.
Let's have a new national anthem.
So this is the new national anthem. It's an absolute honour to have Ken here as well to introduce it. So if you're just joining us, we had a vote on You Call That Politics a couple of weeks ago in an independent Scotland. What would the new national anthem be? And Ken has came up to collect his award. So Ken, if you'd just like to give us a short introduction to the new national anthem.
I was just working out a way, taking inspiration from Jesse Rae. If you want an acoustic version of it, there's no copyright. There's no copyright.
I would love that, man. The copyright.
There's no copyright issues whatsoever. Because the copyright is owned by a company, big major record company. But if we do a live version, then there's no copyright issues.
Excellent.
That would be amazing. We do that? That would make my day. I would be amazing.
Okay. Let me just check. It might not be totally in tune, but it'll be copyright free.
Well, it's better, man. The more out of tune, the less chance of copyright. So feel free.
It might also sound a bit weird in the computer because it's not a proper microphone. Okay, so let me know.
Okay.
Can you hear that? Let me hear if you can hear this.
Sounds good, mate.
Okay, let me get my Bob Dylan thing on and play the harmonica as well.
Oh wow, harmonica!
This is quite a thing, Mark. 2 exclusives in one night, live from Jesse Rae and Ken Mccluskey.
This is
called multitasking. Hold on.
We're just about to go live. It's election night special. You call that politics?
Right. Okay.
To Kenny. I think Kenny's ready.
I think so. Right. Okay, this is special exclusive. I'm going to start quite slow, okay, and speed it up because I speed up naturally. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a start. Oh, before the time they married John for that land was her only cry. How come I love them now? How come I love them more? When all I wanted to do when I was old was to walk out the young and hard. You're so young and hard, young and hard. You're so young and hard. Sorry for swearing. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a chance to be a child at all. They told instead, they told lies. Don't they know they shouldn't have told us at all? How come I love them now? How come I love them more? When all I wanted to do when I was old was to walk out the young and hard. You're so young and hard. You're so young and
You call that radio? You call that radio TV? No. You call that radio TV?
This is You Call That Radio.
Outstanding. Superb, Ken.
Thank you.
That has made my day. I made my day. Absolutely love it, man. I'm old enough or young enough to remember it the second time round. Absolute tune. And got lots of comments coming in. This is the biggest breaking election news yet. Copyright freedom. Alan saying, yes, Ken. Classic, says Lazy Boy Researcher. Petra saying live, woo woo. This is a treat. Yes, says Jay Lee as well. And does Ken know pay my rates by the fall?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The good thing about the thing about Young at Heart is owned by it was signed to a label called London Records, and this is a thing that I would like to make an issue of in future. When you sign a record contract, when you're a wee guy or whatever, it's owned for forever. The tracks are owned for forever, plus 70 years after you die. Okay, so. There should be, I think copyright law should be changed that you can actually get your copyright back. So that song, the recording of that song was owned by London Records, which is part of Polygram, who were bought over by Warner Brothers, so a big major conglomerate over by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers don't even know who you are. So it's sitting there dormant doing nothing.
They're not even brothers.
They're buying content. They're buying content. They're buying up content. They're buying up loads of shit content. However, so if we could be sued for playing that record, but you can't be sued for doing a new version of it. And that was a new version of it. So you're legally cool.
Excellent.
Legally okay. Not that we really bother that much about the legalities of copyright on
it would be.
show.
It's actually better being sued. If you get sued, you get loads of publicity and everybody buys your record against it. It actually works out quite well.
I've noticed there's quite a lot of in the music industry just now. There's a couple of things. There's two things that I've noticed is happening quite recently. So a couple of years ago, it was all about the hip hop artists were all buying their own masters back, so that they owned the publishing of the records. But then in the last year, you're seeing all the big superstars selling all their rights away. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't remember exactly how much they've been selling them for, but your big massive artists are selling their back catalogue for 100 million and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are they just trying to cash in their chips just because?
Well, there's two copyrights. Okay, there's two copyrights. So the one I was talking about was the recording copyright. So the record company, if they pay for it, if a recording company pays for the recording of your song, they own the recording. Okay, and that's if you look at the back of your record, that's the P in the circle, okay? The phonographic performance, or the phonographic owner of the recording. The C in the circle is the words and music, and that's publishing, okay? So that's the words and the music. So if John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote Love Me Do, the words and the music that would be on the sheet music is the C in the circle, okay? So what these guys, Bob Dylan and Neil Young and all these guys are selling is the C in the circle. They're selling their publishing rights. And basically what they're doing is they're all in their late 70s, early 80s. I think what they're doing is getting their house in order because they understand what that C in the circle is. And if you gave that C in the circle to a lawyer or your family or whatever, they won't know what it is. So they're cashing their chips in before they die.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Why wait to 70 years after you die? Because it'd be a bit pointless, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. There's no point in having it.
Cryogenically.
If you die, your mom's not going to know what to do with it. She'll be like, where's all the royalties on it?
As long as there's a check keeps coming in.
Yes, but the check could be much bigger than you think. So the P in the circle, look at the back of a CD, there's a P in the circle, that's the recording. Okay, usually the record company owns that. The C in the circle is the words and the music, just think sheet music, and that's the the writing.
What do you make of? I think it's Taylor Swift, maybe.
Taylor Swift's doing a different thing. She's doing a different thing.
She's actually re-recording because she owns the words and the music, so she's recording the words and the music.
Yeah,
she got screwed. She got screwed by her manager, right? She got done over by her manager, by the record, and they own the recording, the P in the circle. So she's re-recording her whole back catalogue, and getting her fans, all the Swifties, to buy the new stuff, her re-recorded versions of it, which will screw her own old record company.
And she's big enough to actually get away with that.
Yes.
Not everyone could do that, obviously.
Not everybody could do it. She's very powerful.
I remember when I was quite naively, when I was younger, I was like, why don't people just do that all the time? But obviously, people want the original recording, but Taylor Swift can do what she wants.
Yeah, I know a guy who works for Taylor Swift, and he works on the merchandising side of it.
Oh, sorry,
and he ran...
sorry, man, I have to.
The name drop.
You call
Sorry, we always have a name drop. Every show we have a name drop, and sorry, I had to.
God,
sorry,
he sells t-shirts, man. He sells t-shirts.
Someone will be pressing the name drop button. We had the guy for the Bluebells on the other day, and someone will be pressing the name drop button on me. But yeah, continue the story. Sorry,
I'm name dropping the guy, the t-shirts seller, right? Anyway, he ran out of like Swifty t-shirts, like small pink girls t-shirts, right? And he was in New York at the gig. They sold, hey man, we sold out of pink Swifty t-shirts, the belly tops or whatever they're called, right? Girls fitted tops for 50, 40-year-olds or whatever. So they said, just go on, put on your computer and go into the warehouse. So he puts in the barcode and he goes into the warehouse, and he's got this warehouse in front of him, and he presses in a code, like a barcode, and a machine goes into a huge warehouse in Taylor Swift's compound and goes and gets 5 boxes of the t-shirts, like 500 t-shirts, and sends it to him. He's got it in 8 hours.
Wow.
Well, wait a minute. I have to ask the question here. You're saying Taylor Swift has a compound? Like is she one of those kind of neo-Nazi groups or something? Is she got is it up in the California house?
No, it's in a small South American country. No, it's not. She's got a huge. She's got probably Taylor Swift town somewhere. It's on her dad's farm or something.
Yeah.
So there's a huge warehouse. You put in the barcode. There's robots that do it. It's not a person. A robot goes along like a robotic, hydraulic lift sort of thing. Grabs the t-shirts, puts it on a truck, sends it to them.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day, folks. Taylor Swift's operations is totally automated.
Taylor Swift hashtag not a Nazi. I'd just like to clarify what Jim said
No.
there.
Yeah.
Does not agree with any of that.
Swifties are cool. Swifties are cool.
Kathy?
Mark, I'll have to leave you. Is that okay?
That's fine, of course, Kathy. You're free to leave whenever you want. I just want to thank you very much for joining us this evening, and I want to get you on the show soon so we can catch up properly.
Do you know what? I would absolutely appreciate that.
Amazing, Kathy.
Catch up. It was lovely inviting me just to get back into kind of Zoomy thing.
That's it. Well, Kathy, you're always welcome on here. We'll get you back on the show soon to talk about stuff. And I'll put a link in the comments for people to check out the last time you were on. It was such a brilliant interview, and it's always great to speak to you. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Aye, Mark, I must admit, you're doing such a brilliant job, Mark.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate it. We're all very glad you could join us today, Kathy.
Thanks, Jim.
Take care, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. See you later.
Kathy McCormick, absolute legend. I'm going to put a link in the comments to the interview she did last summer. Amazing stuff. The robot stealing more jobs, says Greg. Yes, always good to hear the amazing Kathy, says Danny. Deep underground military base is DUMB. Crown copyright, the grammar. Feed the artists, not the corporations. Copyright, grr. And Jay Lee, who's a young and up-and-coming MC, is saying good to know he's taking some notes before he signs that deal, which I'm sure he'll be signing soon enough. So, Jim, we are waiting on another guest who will, by all accounts, he's having a busy day.
But yeah, we've got Roza Salih.
She was pictured with Nicola Sturgeon today, or was that yesterday? It was on
She's
Twitter.
been very... Rosa's the top of the SNP's regional list, so she's kind of been the kind of forefront of their campaign in Glasgow, so I think she'll be very busy. What we did see on was Nicola Sturgeon being confronted by the hideous Jada Franson, the neo-Nazi, and getting telt. So although I didn't vote for Nicola Sturgeon, and she is my SP, I was absolutely delighted and proud to see her tell Jada Franson she's a racist, a fascist, and the people of Glasgow South Side will reject her, which I totally endorse and agree with.
Well, this is just before we went live tonight. I thought I was going to have to do the show myself because Jim's like, I've got to go and find the fascists. Hold on, we've got.
It's a kind of a reflex for me. So Twitter, Nicola Sturgeon being hassled by Jada Franson, and I didn't even stop to think where it was. I just thought it was the South Side. So I just run about like a headless chicken for the next 25 minutes trying to find them.
Well, we could just go.
I was disappointed.
We could go
I was
live
disappointed.
to that moment right now. It was captured on Twitter. Copyright C, small C to Brian Simpson. So this is what happened earlier on. So Jada Francis, just to give us a bit of background for people who don't know, who is Jada Francis, Jim?
Jada Francis was the leader of us. She's standing as an independent candidate here in Southside, basically because it's Sturgeon's constituency to get a bit of publicity, and also because we have a high population of BNE and also of migrants, and so they're obviously coming here to target us and this constituency. Look, she's no welcome. She's a horrible person. There is no even debating about whether this person is a racist. She's an out-and-out fascist, and she's come here to cause trouble, and you'll see how Nicola responded to that.
By you. You're a fascist, you are a racist, and the south side of Glasgow will reject you.
Of course they will. By you.
Yes.
I think that can be remixed.
Yeah.
Behind it, you're a fascist, you're racist, and the south side will reject you.
Have you come across, Elaine, the south side's, you've been campaigning down here, have you come across any of these people who have been very quiet? Have they been sort of doing it online rather than face to face up until now?
We haven't, or I haven't run into them. We got a message saying that this had happened. It was about, about 1 o'clock, and that she was going around harassing people. And we just got the message sent out saying, do not engage. So the only people that we haven't actually had any kind of organised Zoomers. We just had kind of random nutters and TERFs and things.
Organised Zoomers.
Organised Zoomers are the worst kind of Zoomers.
JB's in the house. Hello, JB. He says that he used a pen. Obviously, that goes back to, well, I mean, this has probably been a conspiracy theory that's going on longer than I've been alive, but it comes up every election that take your own pen, because if you use a pencil, they rub it out.
Mate, see, the thing is, I've been involved in a lot of elections on all sides. I've been an election agent, I've been a candidate, I've been an organiser, I've seen all the counts of probably every election since sometime in the 90s. And see, those kind of conspiracy theories are just, I'm sorry, I'd love to believe them myself, but they're just absolute nonsense. There is no point in the process where anybody can get a hold of ballot papers and tamper with them. It's an absolute nonsense.
I'm sure there's easier ways to rig an election if you really wanted to than getting the stationery pursuit. The pencil case. Get the pencil case out. Get the pencil case out. We've got it in our grasp.
First of all, you've got to actually find the ballot paper you want to change. You're rubbing through this box all the while there's a policeman watching you, and you've got to have to quickly find the one that you want to change, rub it out, put another one in. It's nonsense. It's pure nonsense.
Rub it out, obviously.
Use a pencil, use whatever you want, use lipstick if you want. As long as there's a mark there in the box, that vote will count.
Find the fascist. Jim laugh out loud. That's not the words he used. I was being kind to Jim.
We were very. I knocked in the window of Govanhill Baths for reinforcements. As Fatima grabbed a placard for the International Roma Day as a weapon, and we went running about like Magians all over the south, all over Govanhill and Strathbungo, and didn't meet a single fascist. But there you go. Maybe they're not coming here. Maybe they're feared.
Well, I think it's easier to be a fascist online than it is.
Well, where you saw them confronting Nicola Sturgeon there was actually down in Kinnan Park, where there is a wee version of the Lowdown Tavern next door to an orange lodge. So I'm assuming she's probably kept to her safe spaces for fascists.
A fascist safe place.
Yeah.
That's a good name for a pub. We've got a couple of guests still to come on the show. I've just messaged one of them to see if she's going to make it on. Jim, I don't know if you want to maybe message the other ones, and we'll be back.
I have done, yeah.
You've done that.
I've got, yeah.
Okay, so we'll be back. We'll be back in exactly 1 minute with some new guests.
All systems go! Ignition.
What is that? Oh shit! What is that? It's a trap. Who you fighting?
I have 4 dogs in my backyard. I'm constantly pumping those dogs, man.
It's good that people are getting banned up again because we've not had enough of that. We've not had enough of that. We've not had enough of that. This is a democracy on You Call That Radio. 3, 2, 1.
Your call is very important to the peaceful.
If You Call That Radio, the politics special, the election special, You Call That Politics, episode 5 of 5. So it's actually it's your final week, Jim. So I hope you're ready for doing the poetry slam next week.
Is there a poetry slam next week? Oh, I forgot about that.
No, I'm only joking. No, well, I was thinking about bringing the poetry slam back, but I think you might need a couple of weeks off before we do that.
How long ago was it when we did the world?
Well, do you know what? It's actually slams. Bang on. I think roughly when we started You Call That Politics last year, this year when we started You Call That Politics in April, that was when we started the You Call That Radio Poet of the Year Poetry Slam. So
it was the official best poet in the world, I think.
Yes, the official best poet in the universe slam. That's correct.
Yeah.
And it was won by Jenny Folds, who went on to win the Scottish Poet of the Year, and now she's in the finals for the World Finals. So it's actually quite mad that we picked the winner. So
we were right.
We were right. And hopefully we'll be doing another one of them soon, but I think you'll probably need a couple of weeks off, Jim. So next Thursday we'll be doing My First Lyrics, it's called. So we're going to be bringing on musicians, poets, rappers to discuss the first ever lyrics and songs that they wrote. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've got some absolutely terrible music and wisdom to share with everyone. Ken, do you remember your first song or your first lyrics?
First proper one, yeah. I used to, when I was a paper boy, I was into punk rock. So when punk rock happened when I was 15, it was perfect. 1977, I was 15. And I was in a wee punk band called Rodeo. And I had a paper job at the time. And it was in a new scheme. It was like a Bovis estate sort of thing. And there was a woman who had bought one of these new houses. And she, I don't know, she lived on her own, but she didn't really have any curtains or any furniture or anything like that. And she lay alone. The first line I ever wrote, and I delivered her paper, right? And the lyric is, she lies alone watching TV on the floor, waiting for the knock upon the door, me with the paper. She lies alone watching TV on the floor, waiting for the knock upon the door. Someone who lies wrapped in her shroud, desperately trying to keep away from the crowd. Middle age has gone and passed. She wonders how long her life will last. Thinking of her toils and strife and what happened to her aim in life. That's the first song I ever wrote.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's on the Bluebells album. It's called Aim in Life. It's also on. But that was it was done dead fast. It was, she lies alone watching TV on the floor, waiting for the knock upon the door. But then as I got a wee bit more mature, slowed it down and did a kind of, she lies alone. You know what I mean? As she matured, yeah. And I was impressed by Elvis Costello at the time, so I kind of knocked his delivery a wee bit. But that was the first one I did.
Well, I mean, that's really good. I mean, I'm hoping that the people that are on the show next week are going to be much worse than that. I mean, I'm bringing some shite to the table here. But there's probably going to be people turning up with absolute works of art. Because I suppose there is an element of what I do like about some of the writing that you do when you're younger is you can be a lot more direct and get to the point. And I think that sometimes the better a writer you get, you add more rules, you complicate things when sometimes it's just about getting to the point. And speaking of getting to the point, we have a new guest. Who could it be? It could be anybody. It's Becci Wallace.
Becci Wallace.
And she's muted. She's on mute.
That's not like me. Hi.
Thanks for joining us. And of course, we've ended up with a whole load of artists now. Towards the end, as is the way of this show. So we've got a poet, we've got singers on here. You just missed Becky, Ken Mccluskey with an exclusive live performance of Young at Heart.
Well,
New National Anthem.
I'm sad I missed that, but I did hear an exclusive live performance of the first song in 2 different genres, so that was cool.
And we did have also Jesse Rae earlier on performing a live exclusive as well, which has both been an amazing surprises. Just going back to Ken's lyrics, Mary says that's good. Paul says sounds like a Buzzcocks number, Ken. Great Paperboy skills, says Kenny. Do you know I was a Paperboy as well? I was really bad. I used to deliver him in my lunch break because I slept in. We've got Kitty saying, Ken looking and sounding very country, loving your vibe, says Kitty. And hi Becky, says Mary.
Elaine.
And we've got another special guest. Fatima.
Hello. Hi, folks. Oh, I'm honoured. The guest list.
Yeah, it's quite a big guest list.
It's been a big guest list. There's hardly any red stripe left in the green room.
I was going to be talking there, Fatima, about next week's show, which is first lyrics and things like that. I was going to ask Elaine, do you have any embarrassing poems lying about from the past?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got some. Not so much embarrassing, but to be honest, the first few poems that I wrote were decades ago, and they've all kind of disappeared in the in crashed hard drives and stuff.
Yeah.
If you want an actual early poem, though, I've got one.
Go for it.
Another exclusive?
Sure, yeah.
It's okay for me to use the exclusive banner.
Absolutely.
Okay. No expense spared.
This was the first time I actually did a stand-up live show, and I wrote this for that. It was for Trans Day of Remembrance, and it's how does it go again? Let's see if I can remember it. Now you're on a cool November air stands. Oh no, and I can't actually remember it. I've always been reading poems out of my book, so I'll see if I can dig it out very quickly. Dropbox is in Dropbox. Oops.
While you're just finding that, I just want to actually ask Becky. You actually commented earlier on that you're up for the idea of my first lyrics. Are you next Thursday? You up for it?
Mate, I'm surrounded by my first lyrics. They're everywhere. I've got a bad habit of not being able to throw anything out, so I've actually got jotters from when I was like a lovelorn, manic 12-year-old, like that are just like beautifully printed out, man. Like all these terrible, like exaggerated, hyperbolic, obsessive poetry, and it's hilarious, man. But I kept them all, and sometimes I look back at them now, and I'm even like, do you know what? That's quite good. And then some of them, I'm like, this is disgraceful. Yeah.
Ken used Raw Deal punk song for the Bluebells. I know that Joe has Joe D'Arc's been in a band since she was 15. Some of those songs have came back in Twistettes or Minerva Wakes. So I'm going to go back.
I would never. You're never getting my early poems or lyrics.
Oh yeah, Jim.
No,
that's the
they're absolutely terrible. And
that's what we want to hear. I don't want
it's demystifying it, Jim.
I don't want amazing paperboy poetry that becomes classic songs. I'm talking about my lyric book collection, man. I write a lot, man. It's basically just, this room is just lyric books everywhere. And I never actually go back to them, because when I start a new song, I feel like it's cheating to use my own lyrics that no one's ever heard before. I think it's cheating. Sorry, Elaine, are you ready for your poem? Are you? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we're ready for it, Elaine. Go for it.
It's called 239, which was the number of people who had been murdered that year, trans people. The cold November morning dawns too bright. A day like this one should have leaden skies, be raining with the tears that cloud our eyes, our heat and anger darkening our sight. The leaves lie underfoot, while those unshed but golden catch the sunlight, like the flames of candles lit as we recite the names in memory of our loved and honoured dead. Are fallen as the leaves, though not in war, but murdered and discarded with the trash that they're regarded as, or burned to ash with loved ones, shot, stabbed, beaten, many more who met their deaths in agony and fear. We mourn them in their hundreds every year.
Brilliant stuff, Elaine.
Thanks.
That's fantastic, Elaine. Thanks so much for that. That's 3 exclusives tonight. Live. Jesse Rae, Ken Mccluskey, and Elaine Gallagher. You won't get this anywhere else in any other election show.
And
talking about the election, I really wanted to ask.
That's an election special. We kind of got.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, before we run out of time, I wanted to ask Becky and Fatima. Becky first, probably.
Okay.
Has been for you? Have you been paying attention? Have you been taking part? Has it excited you? Has Willie Rennie got you going? Has Alex Salmon touched you?
Closer than you would imagine, sadly. But it's been up and down for me. I'm really quite engrossed in my local community right now, so I've been paying attention to what's going on locally, and just in terms of what is and isn't opening back up here. Like, we live, in East Kilbride, and there's a lot of kids and stuff, so I've gotten quite involved with like some local activism here, and also like more generally in terms of the facilities and buildings and stuff like that. So I'm quite interested in all of that, just in terms of what's actually available. I think having, COVID here was just it was really clear that there was nowhere to work, there was nowhere for the kids to kind of congregate. So I'm quite into that. But nationally, I've got a very different outlook. Like, I think like a lot of people. So yeah, it's tough, man. Sometimes when I get to the polls, I just stare there and I just cross both for green, because I just don't know what else to do. But I've had more of a think about this time, so it's been interesting. But I think just like, in a weird way as well, it's not been. I feel like coverage has been quite flat. And then I think there's been just ridiculous, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, tactics, like the fucking, I'm sorry if anyone's out there is going to get annoyed at me for saying this, but the Alba party, that's just ridiculous. And like, just to launch something like that so close to these elections. And then broader, I think it'll be an interesting indictment of the Tories in general, so we'll see what happens across the country as well with the local elections and the by-elections. It's exciting, but I mean, I'm kind of poised for not much change, but also perhaps the small excitement of what might happen next. So we'll see. I always feel dead disappointed after an election, so I try not to get too excited before it. That's what I've been taught.
I've always been disappointed. I was saying earlier on that there has, apart from 1997, there has never ever been an election won by the party I voted for. So that's only the once in 1997, the famous one, and that was Tony bloody Blair. So look what happened there, So it's probably better if I don't get to pick. Fatima, what have you been doing? I know you've been quite busy with the old Glasgow Life debacle and things.
Well, I elbowed Bob Danasawa at the. He was hovering around the Pollock Shields polling booth, and he did this. I don't know where he learned that wrong. There you go. No, that was all right. Wished him luck and everything, but don't fancy his chances in Pollock Shields. What else? Chase ran around the streets looking for that fascist Jane Hansen, or whatever her name is, Franston Hansen, fascist scumbag. But I think she shied away from showing herself anywhere other than she was in Cessnock. She was in the Govan area outside the Grapes, I think. But apart from that, she didn't make herself known to. But good on Nicola Sturgeon for standing up to her and calling her a fascist scumbag. And telling her she wasn't wanted in Glasgow. That was really, really good. But not enough to get me to vote SNP, I'm afraid.
Oh, are you going to declare? Are you going to declare who you voted for?
Well, do you know what? I'm a big independence vote. I want independence, and Nicola Sturgeon's not going to give it to us. And she said that pretty much, didn't she? She said she's not going to be forcibly dragged into a independence vote anytime soon. So that's really, really disappointing. So hopefully people in the streets.
So did you vote for Greg
Who did I
Energy
vote?
Advisor?
You know what? I reluctantly vote. Well, I'm a revolutionary socialist. I don't believe in parliamentary democracy. But given that there's no revolution anytime yet, I voted for Alba. No, joking. I voted for. I found out that Alba stands for All Ladies Be Aware, which I think is really nice. No, I voted reluctantly for Greens, even though really, you know, I'm not sure what they've achieved in 1,000 years. But anyway, there you go. That's the problem with parliamentary democracy. It's never radical, man. Where's all the radicals? Where are the big tear down the system and tax the rich and burn down the Amazon? As in, not the Amazon. I was just, you know, the other Amazon.
Talking about radicals, I think we've got another guest.
We do have another guest, so let's get the. It could be anyone. It could be Count Binface. It could be that guy as well. We don't know. Anything happens election night.
Here he is, Jonathan Sharpie.
Hello. Sorry,
Jonathan was one of the original instigators of the radical independence campaign. Do you think that's gone now? Is there still a radical independence campaign, but not without the name? Are people still radical on the independence side?
No, definitely, and there'll also be other campaigns to look out for in terms of that kind of spirit. But no, definitely, I think the indie movement, if you go around speaking to yes groups especially, then you tend to find that the vast majority of people, they want independence in order that they can transform the society around them, and very left wing. So I think that's the kind of the natural kind of consensus that does exist in the indie movement. But it's also, we can't have any we can't be complacent. Because you know, the prospectus that's been given by the SNP would certainly not be one I support, but you know, that's why we've got to engage, and the left's got to engage as well.
So, is there anything that stood out? Is any memories of this campaign that stood out? I've kind of been disappointed in that we didn't have. I don't know if you remember last time round when Willie Rennie was trying to launch a policy, and there was two pigs shagging behind him. There's been nothing really like that. Is anything entertained you about the election? Becky, is anything stuck out or not?
I'm a bit flat, as I say. Like, I'm hopeful, but nothing's really stuck out apart from obviously today's antics with Nicola Sturgeon down in Govan. That was cool, mainly because that's the wee swimming pool that I used to swim in when I was a kid. But it was nice to hear a fascist getting called a fascist. But apart from that, no, really, it's been boring, and I understand that people have tried to be radical or have tried to be provocateurs, but I think it's just came off as a bit desperate, to be honest with you. So,
Fatima, has there been any abiding memories from this campaign that you'll remember? Or has it been a bit of a drag?
Listen, I know that people were queuing at the polling stations, but that's because we had to keep 2 meter distance. But I'd be surprised if the vote wasn't really low. People are just, I don't think there's any illusions that Parliament's going to achieve very much. Remember all that talk about when we come out of COVID, we're going to have not a new normal, something different. All the lessons we learned about how to be nice to one another and how to bring about real change. I think no one's talking about that anymore. And I think I'd be surprised if there was actually a high vote. I think most people stayed at home. But we'll see. We'll see. But no, nothing memorable.
Do you think anything will change, Jonathan? Do you think there'll be much? Do you think there'll be any surprises will come out of today's vote? And because I bumped into Jonathan in a cafe earlier and asked him the same thing. So, but I know the answer. I can have a fag while he tells you.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think there'll be any huge change in terms of the landscape. I think, to be honest, it's difficult under proportional representation to get an outright majority. So, we'll see whether or not the SNP achieve that. But it is worth saying that pandemic or no pandemic, the track record of voter turnout in Scottish elections is not great. I mean, around half the electorate doesn't vote in Scottish elections. So, a lot of people feel that no matter if they vote or if they don't vote, do they really see any real change to their lives? So my interest really is what happens after the election, and actually what happens outside of the Parliament after the election, because I think that's where all the energy is. I think that's what's going to shape the next few years, both in terms of the indie stuff, but also in terms of the economic consequences of COVID. I think it's going to be outside the Parliament, in unions and demonstrations and communities and people organising. I think that's where the action's going to be to honest.
Yeah.
Fatima, to come back to you, you've been involved. I know you're very busy with Glasgow Against Closures and things. Do you see that the people that are involved in these campaigns to say the local library or sports hall, is that a different kind of people? Are it people that are less party political and more rooted in their communities?
I don't know if you guys haven't been to your local library. There's probably a demo there every Saturday of people doing readings. People actually objecting to Glasgow Life and a council dominated by the SNP, by the way. Susan Aiken, who promised. You remember she promised the last election, no, Glasgow Life won't exist anymore. We will centralise everything. No more arm's length, neoliberal, bloody semi-privatised agencies. And they accelerated, didn't they? They actually take these vile Labor policies and actually accelerated them. And I think that's not lost on the people. The hundreds of people. Did someone say they were in East Kilbride? Because East Kilbride are trying to save their library. So it's not just a Glasgow thing.
Yeah.
Shocking. So what you're seeing in the streets, what's absolutely fantastic is that everyone's lovely. Everyone's really determined. Everyone's really pissed off. But there's a real loveliness to people. They're united and drawing. They're creative. It's very, very old school, and it's fantastic. And it's everywhere. Hundreds of people. Mary Hill, White Inch, Pollock Shields, Langside. It's fantastic. And hopefully that's going to be more reflective of what's happening throughout Scotland, hopefully, that more people are actually finding that they themselves can change things rather than having these illusions in these people in power.
Is that maybe a hope of post-COVID? Because obviously there was a couple of weeks where everyone was nice to each other and then everyone just started arguing on the internet with each other. But you only see the people that are arguing on the internet with each other. Most people don't get involved in arguments. Do you think that is there an optimism that maybe post-COVID people will have maybe got new priorities and maybe thinking about things differently? Maybe people who were in a safe job, who were getting good money, who didn't really give a shit about anyone, people that looked down and unemployed, and then all of a sudden they were unemployed and they were saved by furlough money. Will these people have changed?
I think a lot of people during COVID have become more active in general. Personally know a lot of people who have, started to gather up stuff and deliver for food banks, pick up rubbish in our local community because they've got time, and just generally get in about it a wee bit more. And I think Fatima's right about the shift to more localised activism, and just kind of rejecting the kind of continuous bullshit that comes from, especially Glasgow Life, a company that I worked for years and was wholly disheartened with and disappointed with, because very clear and easy and very productive things that could have been done to save and help community centres when I worked there were not done constantly. It was just heartbreaking, and took a lot of the wind out of the community, the sails of the communities, in general, just by kind of becoming this massive all-seeing conglomerate. And that's been hurtful, I think, for a lot of us. And it's really about just getting back to those, what can we do locally that will help us all nationally, That's the way I see it anyway. But I'm new to South Lanarkshire, so there's a whole different bunch of stuff happening here, which is interesting.
She just...
Sorry, Jonathan.
No, I was just going to make a really quick point, just in terms of what Becky was saying there. I think a lot of those people that were talked about there in terms of getting involved, maybe in the local area, doing different things, it's not the case that all of them will go and vote. So the idea that just because people are not voting in lots of places means they're apathetic, I think is wrong. They just maybe don't see that's the way to create change. So it was just a wee point just to say.
It's a very good point. It's a very, very good point. There's lots of people that have no faith in the voting system or democracy in general, but still want to do better for their communities, and they still want to save the swimming pools, or whether that's the libraries. And Jim, I know that you're wanting to just wind things up just now, but I just want to give a quick shout out to the next show. We're back on Tuesday with Marianne Mandy, who's got an amazing story. She came all the way from Kenya to Ayrshire in the middle of lockdown to progress her music career, and she's just not been at a gig yet. And she makes this amazing music. It's Afro, soul, funk, amazing music. So really looking forward to having her on the show on Tuesday. So we shout.
Mark, I have to point out there that Fatima's laugh was, I know you and I both been from Ayrshire.
I know. It's laughing at Ayrshire. I know. It was
just laughing at us.
Well, it's not the best.
I'm not the only one. Come on.
But I'll tell you what, though. I mean, I've done my best to stay away from Ayrshire, but in the lockdown, I mean, I have been jealous of anyone a bit more rural. I mean, Glasgow's a bit shite with the pubs, the clubs, and the live gigs and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm actually jealous of anyone who's not got traffic outside their door. Do you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
So,
I never thought I would love East Kilbride. Thought it was a kind of necessity move, but it ended up being glorious during the lockdown.
So many people made that move just before lockdown, and then it proved right as well. So, and then the only other thing I was wanting to say is, if you're watching, remember to hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy the show, please do become a Patreon, and that's how we make these shows happen. So patreon.com/you call that radio. There we go. Thanks to the patrons who support it. Jim, you're going to do your Jerry Springer final thought, and then go around the game.
Yeah. I was going to ask our guests to have the final thought so I could let them go. And I wonder, Elaine, with the new guest coming in with sidelined you after your poem. I just wondered if you had anything else.
There was some really nice comments coming back about the.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
There was Mary said it was very powerful. Other Mary said it was a round of applause for that. Paul says, thankfully I can't remember what I wrote, but I had 2 poems published was in primary 7. They will be as terrible as you'd expect. Now, that's the kind of stuff that I want to hear on my first lyrics next Thursday. I don't want to hear these amazing, powerful poems by Elaine, or that amazing song that became a hit for the Bluebells by Ken. I want to hear some shite. So please bring your shite to the show next Thursday. We've also
Beautiful.
got
what a tagline.
Bring your shite to the show. They can't be any worse than the baddies for your Doctor Who plot that you fashion from dolly pegs and nails. That sounds quite good.
Amazing.
Petra says the best thing about the election's been Bonnie Prince Bob has been the most exciting thing. And we had Bonnie Prince Bob on the show. We should check out that interview. It was entertaining. And Fatima is also the best thing of this election campaign.
Oh, there you go.
And Greg had one question for the panel, which was, should voting be made compulsory? So maybe everyone can have their final thought with that as well.
Yeah, I think we'll go to Elaine first, because she was first here. So Elaine, any final thoughts, and should voting be compulsory?
I think it should be, because it would make people actually pay attention a little bit. I agree with everybody about what's been happening. The communities have been starting to look out for each other, and I'm kind of hopeful that some of this will actually keep on going. The things that the Greens, if I can plug my party, what we've been doing and what we've been promoting are things for like the rebuilding the communities, like saving swimming pools and getting people to the fairer taxes, that kind of thing, making sure that people are saved from unemployment. So I'm hopeful that we'll have a half a dozen more MSPs, like up to a dozen, having those thumbs on the scales for more like social justice and for more environmental justice, and making sure that people have actually got decent jobs, people have got a means to stay in decent accommodation, warm homes, and have a decent living. I would fight for universal basic income, as I said last time.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, that seems to be very popular. Becci, Fatima's mentioned there about the creativity and the art in some of these campaigns to save libraries and things. I know that's a big thing. We've had you on the show talking about embedding music and arts throughout education. I've seen you write about that in the past as well. Are you hopeful when you see when people get together and do stuff for the community? Does it make you optimistic for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think that any action that involves bringing people together is positive, as long as they're coming together for a good cause, hopefully. I don't think we should make it compulsory to vote, but I think there should be a lot more news literature, media literature, a lot more teaching about, the world that we live in. I think like activating people in a way that would allow them to vote and make them want to vote would be better, mainly because I think if you made voting compulsory tomorrow, I think we'd all get a bit of a shock as to what was actually voted for, because without people having the right knowledge and understanding of what's going on around them, then I think it's very easy to just choose, populism of some kind. And I think if you just give people who are right now identifying as apathetic a vote, then perhaps that would be a bit of a shock to activists everywhere. But at the same time, I think like in the long term, a society where you're getting 90+% voting is the best society where you can be in. So it's definitely the right thing to encourage people to vote. In an ideal world, I would live in an independent Scotland and I would vote Green every time. So like I think that as well, like there's the game of politics and then there's the world that we imagine, and it's about really finding the balance as to how we can, make both those things, desirable to those who don't vote. So I don't think compulsory voting is the answer, but I think certainly literacy around this whole world that governs us would be quite helpful in general.
Did I see Lily there? Has Lily voted yet? Has she made up her mind?
Lily, who are you voting for?
Mum or Dad?
Are you voting for Mummy or Daddy? Daddy. She
likes Daddy. Terrible. Shocking.
It's fine. It's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm all right with it. It doesn't bother me at all.
Can live with it. Yeah. Fatima. Any final words, any final thoughts on the Scottish elections 2021?
Well, just on compulsory voting, the reason I've got this outrageous accent is because I learnt English in Australia, immigrating there as a child, and Australia has compulsory voting, and we still get the same shite bags in Parliament, exactly the same, either the Tories or Labour, and not much difference really there. But one thing I noticed when I first came to Britain, what you have in Australia is you can actually campaign right up to the polling booth as you go in the door. So what happens is there's usually huge bum fights between the Tories and radicals and Greens right up till you get to get your vote. And when I came to Britain, you had a couple of little old ladies taking your, details. Where was the fights? Where was the campaigning? There was hardly anything there. So that was a bit disappointing. But what was your question? Was that it?
No, that was it. You've done it.
Follow-up. I'll tell you what. Stop having illusions in Parliament and trust your own instincts and get on the streets and make radical change. Exactly what Jonathan Shafi said. We should stop putting our illusions in these tiny minority of people when we have the power to bloody transform society. So it's the anniversary of the French Revolution. Get back on the streets. Bring back the guillotine for all those lying politicians and let's transform society. What can I say?
Bring back the guillotine. I think that's the best of the policies we've come up with in the last 5 weeks. Jonathan, any comments to end? Should we vote? You work for the Electoral Reform Society, so you've probably looked into this compulsory voting quite a few times. Should we have compulsory voting? Should we be executing people by guillotine? And anything else you'd like to add at the end?
Should we share our fish with the French?
Well,
Hey!
any comments I'm about to make are not associated with the election.
Yes, of course.
Just to say. No, look, when it comes to making votes compulsory, it seems to me that the question is should be the other way around. If manifestos were compulsory in terms of actually delivering what politicians say they're going to deliver, then you might find that more people vote. So the idea that the problem is with people not voting rather than their institutions not being responsive to people, to me gets it the wrong way around and would let the politicians and the institutions off the hook. So no, I would have far more rules in terms of the politicians than I would on the people.
Brilliant, great idea. What we did last week, and we were discussing democracy, is we had one of the suggestions was that politicians should face lie detectors. Not quite the guillotine. I know Fatima would like to go a bit further than that.
First step.
During Brexit, people talked a lot about confirmatory votes, or they should be able to sort of, once they're in power, they've got X amount of time to deliver their manifesto, or we get to vote again, kind of thing. You know, so there's loads of things. I think we've covered a lot of things over the last 5 weeks. So I'll be absolutely delighted to have our guests. It's been brilliant to have you all back again. So I'd like to say thank you to Elaine, to Becky, to Fatima, to Jonathan, to Ken, Kathy, Jesse, Greg, Kevin. Have I done everybody? Paul Sweeney, and everybody else who's been tuning in and listening in. Can I plug the Sonnet Youth Weekender? This weekend, Sonnet Youth, the fantastic cabaret and poetry company, have a weekend of top line acts, including me, top line acts as well as me. Hannah Lavery, Courtney Stoddart, Alan Bissett, Leila Josephine, and it's over the weekend. Kirsten Innes is another one from on Saturday and Sunday, and for £10 you can tune in to any show over the weekend. So, and me doing a live performance, a poetry performance for the ages. Probably need to shave. And I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Mark, anything we should be looking forward to, and You Call That Radio?
I just think you should maybe had a shave before you came on You Call That Radio. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
But no, thank you very much, Jim. You've been amazing for the last 5 weeks. Round of applause for Jim for putting up with me. This has been You Call That Radio TV. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight. Thank you very much to Jim for You Call That Politics. We might get him back in for the poet, the best poet of the universe slam. Which will probably happen over the next couple of weeks, but this time next week we'll be having my first lyrics. So if you've got any sort of younger wisdom that you want to share with the world, then please make it shite though. Don't turn up with something you wrote in 2019. We'll be able to tell, unless you're obviously particularly talented like Elaine or Ken have been, who actually just wrote absolute belters when they're 15. Greg saying cheers folks. Tagang says Ali. Thanks all. Thanks for another belter, says Danny. Round of applause from Kitty. Heeds on plates is not too much for ask for. As a deterrent, of course. Hashtag bring back guillotine if you're watching this on Twitter. And well said from Jonathan. There seems to be a massive disconnect between the younger generations and modern politics. I'm not surprised people take little to do with it. I would like to thank Mark. Honestly, mate, thank you so much for this channel. Thank you, Jim. Good show, Mark. Respect everybody that was on. Hopefully see more of this type of stuff when You Call That Radio. Great show, guys. You've given this old bird food for thought. Well, thank you. That's the whole idea of it. We're back on Tuesday for Marianne Mandy, who's got an amazing story about going from Kenya to Ayrshire during lockdown. An amazingly talented singer-songwriter. So I hope you join us for that. There's no show tomorrow because I'm spending the weekend working on the new Jackal Trades album that you can pre-order. And the link in the comments if you want. That would be helpful. The album's out on June the 1st and I'm finishing it this weekend. So all the pre-orders helps make it better. So thank you very much. We'll see you on Tuesday. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you, everybody. See ya.
What weirdo do you want it to do?